If you follow me on social, you know I'm currently on a mission to bring dermatologist-grade skincare into my home. I was ready to level up from red light and facials, but in-office laser treatments are so expensive and they often require downtime for your skin to recover. That's where Nira comes in. Nira is the first and only painless at-home laser that not only rivals but transcends in-office treatment results at a fraction of the price and with no side effects. It literally sounds too good to be true, so you know I did a deep dive, and I found out that Nira's technology is award-winning, holds 17 patents worldwide, and is dermatologist-approved, clinically proven, and FDA cleared. I just started using my Nira like a month ago on my tech neck, and I've already noticed a little bit of alleviation of the fine lines and wrinkles in that area. So I'm really excited to see the final results in like 30 to 60 more days, and I will definitely keep you guys posted on my progress. What I can already say with 100% confidence is that it doesn't hurt at all, doesn't leave any redness, it's super easy to figure out, and I literally do it in 5 minutes a day. Make sure to use the link in the show notes to get your Nira device and any accompanying skincare products for 15% off. Hey guys, it's Sam, and welcome to Caps Lock, a podcast designed to help you live bigger, better, louder, and longer. Before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for listening and for giving this a chance and for coming here in pursuit of your best self. This is a space where we are going to grow together, and my hope is that it helps you go forward confidently, unapologetically, and with purpose. It's time to live your life in caps lock. If that mission feels aligned for you, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. Good morning, besties. I want to start off today's episode with a little bit of motivation because it totally changed my attitude going into last week. As some of you guys know, if you follow me on social, I am newly into golf. I learned how to golf as a kid because my dad and brother play a lot of golf and we were raised in country club world. But I didn't take it that seriously because I played other sports. I played tennis and I was a ballerina, which I ended up really pursuing as my kind of one true selection. I feel like when you're good at a couple different things, you end up having to pick one because you can't be you can't go to school for 3 sports. You know what I mean? Anyway, my boyfriend's family is really into golf. So I recently picked it back up. I have been taking lessons. I got kitted out. I got all the clothes. I got a new set of golf clubs. And as a result, I have become, I think because I'm just so competitive, especially with myself, I am determined to be a professional golfer now. And as a result of getting so invested in golf, I've just been paying a lot of attention to professional golf, which is funny because when I was playing tennis, I didn't care that much about professional tennis, but I just I watch these people's swings and I check their scores in the tournaments. Anyway, this is a very long way to tell you that the Masters was this past weekend. And Rory McIlroy won the Masters. And I thought his story was just a really good reminder for all of us who put a lot of pressure on ourselves and who are chronically disappointed in ourselves or feel like we can't be proud of ourselves or feel like we're behind in life. So I'm going to tell you his story. Rory McIlroy was 18 years old when he became a professional golfer in 2007. In 2011, he played the Masters, and his first 3 rounds were amazing. But in the 4th round, he totally fucking choked, resulting in the worst round ever recorded by a leader after 3 rounds at the Masters. And it left him tied for 15th place when the day was over, which was just totally devastating. But 2 months after that devastating loss, he won his first major, the US Open, and then the next year he won his second major, the PGA Championship, and then 2 years after that, he won his third major, the British Open. And for those of you who don't follow golf, there are 4 what they call majors, which is the biggest, most important tournaments of the year. And that's the US Open, the PGA Championship, the British Open, and the Masters. And if you win all 4 majors, it's called a Grand Slam, right? So stay with me. Before the Masters this year, only 5 male golfers had ever achieved a Grand Slam in the last roughly 100 years since all 4 tournaments were founded. And for so long, Rory McIlroy only had 3 major titles because he literally just could not win the Masters. Like, he played it 16 times over 16 years in a row. And in some of those years, he, like, was not even close. And then in several of those years, he missed the win by just, like, the tiniest hair, making it all the way to the final round and losing at the finish line. Anyway, this year was his 17th time playing the Masters, and he played like outstanding, spectacular golf all weekend. And on the very last day, he had a strong lead, but he just like missed a couple of shots that would have helped him win, including the final putt, you guys, on the final hole. So at the end of the day, he missed his last putt and wound up tying this guy, Justin Rose, who had just like steadily come up behind him throughout the weekend. But because it's like a tournament, there's no tie. Like, you can't tie for first place. There's a winner. So Rory McIlroy and Justin Rose went into a head-to-head playoff where they had to play the 18th hole over again to win the title. In the end, Justin Rose missed his birdie putt and scored a par in the playoff, and Rory made his birdie putt to score a birdie and win the Masters. Now, I know we're like a little in the weeds on golf terminology here, so if you don't know much about golf, I'm sorry for dragging you through that. But the point is, Rory McIlroy fucked up the Masters worse than anyone has ever fucked up the Masters in 2011. And then he won 3 of the 4 majors in the next 3 years after that. And after losing the Masters by a lot or a little for 16 years in a row, he was literally starting to think he would never get his Grand Slam. Like, you can find interviews where he's like, I'm genuinely starting to think like this is never going to happen for me. And then 11 years after winning what he thought might have been his last major title, he finally got the Masters this year and became the 6th golfer to ever achieve a Grand Slam. I just found that story so inspiring because he went from like rock bottom to literally the top of the world and then played amazing golf and worked so hard for over a decade and achieved a bunch of other goals, right? Like, he won a bunch of other titles, but he didn't achieve the one he really wanted. And then he did get it on his 17th fucking try. And I think it just goes to show that success is not linear. And if Rory McIlroy gave up on his 3rd try or his 4th try or his 16th try, he would not be one of the 6 golfers on that list today. So whether you're on your 1st try and it's getting hard, or your 3rd try and you're getting discouraged, or your 100th try and you feel like giving up, this is your sign not to, because this could be the year that you get your Grand Slam. Anyway, I just thought that was a cool story. Quick note. If you are a returning listener, please leave me a rating or review on this podcast anywhere you're listening. It is free to do. It takes 30 seconds or less, and it genuinely makes a world of difference for me. It is one of the best ways you can support the show so that I'm able to keep making it for you. Another free low-lift ways to connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube at Life in Caps Lock. And I just so appreciate your support. I love making this show, and I just want to always be able to make it and constantly improve it for you guys. And it really makes a huge difference. Every single rating or review doesn't just make me feel like, okay, I can do this for another week, but it actually helps the business. So I just appreciate those of you who have already done it, literally over 500 of you. And every single review and rating, even if it's just stars, you don't even have to write anything, makes just a major difference. So thank you to those of you who've done it. And if you are listening and you're a returning listener, I would really appreciate if you leave me a review. Anyway, let's have an episode, shall we? I wanted to talk about gut health today because I feel like it's sort of made its way into mainstream TikTok and like the average girly pops media orbit in the last couple of years. And now I feel like it's literally all anyone talks about. And as someone who self-identifies as a curious and generally well-informed person, especially when it comes to topics in the wellness space, I have just been really frustrated with a lack of clarity and comprehension in the gut health space. And as with many topics these days, unfortunately, there are a lot of like health talkers out there spewing lots of nonsense and a lot of pseudoscience and advertising in the space. And everyone is just hawking a cleanse or a detox or a testing kit or a gut reset at you for hundreds of dollars or at the expense of your mental health as you try to wade through all the information and parse what is true versus what is not. And to be honest, I just am kind of reaching a breaking point. It's just so exhausting that we always have to do that because it's so scary to feel like there's no information out there that you can fully trust, especially when it comes to something that is so important to your overall health. So today we are really only covering the basics. And as usual, I have done an absurd amount of research to make this episode, and everything comes from a source that I trust as far as sources go. And as usual, you can explore all of my resources in full by clicking into the show notes. So welcome to Gut Health 101. The first questions I will answer today are, number one, when I say gut health, what is your gut? What parts of your body comprise it? And two, what role does the gut play in your health? And it will take me about a year and a half to answer these questions. So yes, this will be a multi-episode series on gut health. And I will bring experts on down the line to discuss it in depth and help us synthesize this information, but also to kind of branch off and go down the different rabbit holes because there's all kinds of stuff like chronic illness, like digestion stuff, literal cognitive disorders and psychiatric disorders that are related to gut health. There are just so many different things that are connected to your gut, and you will understand why as I start to talk about the biology of it all. So lock in. There is going to be a part at the end where I'm going to recommend you take notes, but I will give you a heads up when that happens. For now, we are just going to learn about what the fuck does that mean? When people say your gut, they are referring to your gastrointestinal tract or your GI tract, which is quite literally a long tube that runs from your mouth to your anus. Along the way, the organs that are part of your GI tract include your mouth, which is where food enters the body to begin the digestion process, your esophagus, which is the part of the tube that runs through your throat, which moves food and liquid down into your stomach, your stomach, which produces enzymes and acids that break down food into smaller pieces so it can pass into your small intestine, your small intestine, which is the longest part of your GI tract at 22 feet long, where food is broken down even more, basically into liquid, and nutrients and water are starting to be absorbed. And then your large intestine, which is the last part of the digestive process and includes your colon, your rectum, and your anus. The large intestine receives the liquid food waste that's left after your small intestine completes its part of the digestion process. The colon basically absorbs water and salts from the liquid waste and turns it into solid waste, otherwise known as poop. And then your large intestine uses layers of tissue and muscles to move poop through your rectum and out of your body through your anus. Guys, I am so sorry. This is so gross. I don't even like bathroom humor. I don't even fuck with a bathroom joke. So this is particularly unpleasant for me. But your gut is just so important to your health. And this is just the ugly part of it. And honestly, it needs to be talked about more. So I apologize, but also let's fucking go. I don't know. So as you have probably gathered throughout the course of your literal entire life, your GI tract is responsible for digestion, but it doesn't work alone. In addition to your GI tract, there is your biliary tract, which makes and releases fluids that aid the digestive process. Your biliary tract includes your liver, bile ducts, gallbladder, and your pancreas. And they all carry out multiple functions that help with digestion. Your liver literally does hundreds of different jobs, so that's insane. But in relation to digestion, its primary most important functions are to, 1, regulate glucose levels, 2, remove waste products. So that's why it's engaged when you drink alcohol. It literally filters poison and toxins out of your body, which, sidebar, proves that alcohol is toxic, but that, as you know, is a whole other episode. Lol. And 3, produce bile. Now, I know what you're thinking because it's what I was thinking, which is puke. But as always, there's more to that story. When you eat literally anything that contains fat, your liver takes it and creates bile. Every single day, your liver makes 27 to 34 fluid ounces of bile. I am disgusted. And your bile ducts allow it to move into your gallbladder for storage. Then a bunch of hormones tell your gallbladder to secrete bile into the first part of your small intestine. And that is where the most important component of bile, which is called bile salt, break up the larger fat globules into smaller ones. And that's basically how the food liquefies as it goes into your large intestine. It just gets like broken down by the bile. Since the fat is now broken down into much smaller pieces, your body just has a way easier time processing it to make energy. Now, at the same time all of this is happening, your pancreas is making enzymes, which work together with bile to break down the fat, but they also separately break down proteins and starches, both of which are also used for energy. So, like, all of these things are just taking your food and breaking it down into energy. The pancreas also makes hormones, including insulin, glucagon, gastrin, amylin, and these help regulate your blood sugar, make gastric acid, control your appetite, and overall, they just like oversee the emptying of your stomach. Now, if that wasn't enough, in terms of, all your body parts that participate in the digestive process, parts of your nervous system and circulatory system also help. So your nerves and your blood. And then we arrive at the gut microbiome. Now, the gut microbiome, I would say, is like the most widely talked about kind of part of your gut. And it's deeply complex. So we are going to break it down just like nice and simple here. The word biome means a distinct ecosystem characterized by its environment and its inhabitants. And the reason your gut microbiome is called a microbiome is because there are quite literally trillions of different microscopic organisms living inside your intestines, mainly inside a part of your large intestine called the cecum. And that's just at any given moment. Like, you just have trillions of microorganisms inside of you. These organisms include bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, which when put all together, guys, this is crazy. I dropped this on my boyfriend last night and he was like, what the fuck? When you put all of these different microorganisms together, they weigh 2 to 5 pounds, which is about the same weight as your brain. It's just so crazy to think about. They're just like so tiny, but they weigh 2 to 5 pounds put together. I don't know. I just like couldn't wrap my mind around it. I was like picturing holding it in my hands. It was weird. Anyway, everyone's microbiome is unique to them because they are made over time through your unique life experiences. The first microbes are usually introduced to your own personal biome during vaginal birth or through breastfeeding, though there is some recent evidence out there to suggest that you actually earn some of your first microbes in the womb. So TBD on that. I guess like more research needs to be done to confirm. But for a lot of babies, they are introduced to their first microbes during a vaginal birth or, like I said, breastfeeding. And then throughout your life, new microbes are added through diet, medication, lifestyle choices, environmental exposures, basically like anything that gets into your body. And also, it's affected by not just things you ingest. Like, it's not just like technically what goes inside of your body. Because when I say lifestyle choices, I mean like your sleep or lack thereof for some of us, your stress levels and physical activity levels. Like, all of these things can alter the balance of your gut microbiome. So in terms of what our microbiome actually does, your gut microbiome impacts your digestion. It impacts your immune system, your heart health, your nervous system, and your endocrine system. So basically your entire body and all the processes it carries out. Let's briefly discuss how it affects each system, because not only is it interesting, but I think it will help kind of like drive us into the part of the episode where I tell you how you can like take care of your gut at home. So first up is the digestive system. So gut bacteria help your body break down things like carbs and fats that it can't break down on its own. And as a byproduct, they produce what are called short-chain fatty acids. And these short-chain fatty acids are essential nutrients for your body, and they strengthen the lining of your gut to keep it just like generally protected and functioning properly. Gut bacteria can also help synthesize certain vitamins like B1, B9, B12, and K so that you don't find yourself vitamin deficient. And that might sound kind of like Little League, like Oh, like I just like don't have enough of B12. But nutrient deficiencies and vitamin deficiencies, if you've ever had one, you know how like big a deal they are. If you're deficient in B12, you face like chronic fatigue, low energy levels, like it can give you like ulcers on the inside of your mouth. Like it is miserable. So gut bacteria are super important for your body's like absorption and synthesis of vitamins like that. And then also, your microbiome helps your body metabolize bile, which we just discovered is not only gross, but also essential to your health. And without the microbes in question, your liver would not be able to recycle bile and therefore produce new bile, which basically leads to cholesterol buildup in your blood. And we all know what happens when you have cholesterol buildup in your blood. See heart attack. Next up is your immune system. So let's talk about how your gut microbiome impacts your immune system. Fun fact, and this blew my mind, your gut contains 80% of your body's immune cells. One thing your gut microbiome does for your immunity is it helps train your body to distinguish between healthy, safe bacteria that your body like needs to thrive and harmful pathogenic viruses, which can make you sick. Now, those short chain fatty acids that we mentioned earlier, oh my God, that is like such a tongue twister. I feel like I'm messing it up every time. Those short chain fatty acids that we mentioned earlier that keep your gut lining strong, that isn't just important for digestion. It's also to keep all the bacteria inside your intestines so that they don't get into other parts of the body like your bloodstream where they can cause infection. These same short chain fatty acids are also anti-inflammatory, which is huge for your body, we all know. Number 3, your gut microbiome impacts your heart health. This feels pretty obvious at this juncture just because we just touched on it in both the digestion and the immune categories. But to reiterate through the lens of heart health, your microbiome helps your body metabolize bile and regulate cholesterol levels, as well as blood sugar levels and inflammation, all of which, when they're elevated and especially when they're put all together, like we said, can lead to pretty serious heart issues. Number 4, your nervous system. This is a bit complicated, so bear with me. I'm going to try to explain it in a way that's like pretty linear. There are more nerve cells in your gut than anywhere else in your body outside of your brain. As a result, your brain and your gut communicate more than any other systems in your entire body. And the gut-brain axis is bidirectional, which basically means your brain sends messages to your gut, but your gut can also send messages to your brain. It's widely believed that this strong link between your brain and your gut is an evolutionary mechanism because obviously diet is crucial to our overall well-being and survival. And the foods available to humans have just changed a lot over time, depending on weather, geography, evolution, climate, like that kind of stuff. Basically, this link just helped ensure that we got all the right nutrients that our bodies needed and also had a sensitive alarm system, if you will, in case we ate the wrong thing at any time. But to me, the most interesting part of the gut-brain axis is actually the emotional side. Research shows that certain species of bacteria in your gut actually produce or stimulate the production of neurotransmitters such as serotonin and dopamine, which control your mood, and norepinephrine, which controls your fight or flight response. Fun fact, up to 95% of all the serotonin your body produces is produced in your gut. So your gut really does affect your mental health dramatically. There have also been a number of studies, again linked in the show notes, showing that significant disruptions to the microbiome have been associated with the onset or exacerbation of certain psychiatric conditions, such as major depressive disorder. Data shows that more than half of patients with IBS also suffer from mood disorders, and one of the most common pharmaceutical interventions for treating IBS is antidepressants. This is so interesting because it's very like chicken or egg. Does your IBS cause your anxiety and depression? Or is your anxiety and depression causing IBS? And yes, it is shown that in people who have both a mood disorder and IBS, treating one noticeably alleviates the other. So interesting. Okay, and number 5, your gut microbiome impacts your endocrine system. Basically, your gut lining has just like bajillions of endocrine cells, making your gut the largest endocrine system organ in your entire body. And these endocrine cells secrete hormones that influence your metabolism, your appetite, estrogen levels, thyroid function, insulin resistance, vitamin absorption, and more. It's literally too much to go all the way into without a doctor. So stay tuned for expert input on that in a future episode. So that is like a very long way of explaining what your gut is and what your microbiome is and what they do for your body. And I realize it's like very sciencey, but I just think it's important because everyone's out here saying like, "Oh, your gut this and your microbiome that," and I guarantee you half of them could not even tell you what that actually means and what parts of your body that actually encompasses, or like how they work and like what makes a good microbiome and what makes an imbalanced microbiome and whatever. So I know that's a lot, but that is like the anatomy of it, if you will. And now we kind of arrive at this major question, which is, how do you know if your gut is healthy? A couple of things that characterize a healthy gut include regular bowel movements, comfortable bowel movements, healthy stool. And please bear with me for this gross part, but I will now explain what healthy stool looks like. Oh man, I literally don't even know if I can do this. It should be smooth in texture. It should sink in the toilet bowl. Unhealthy stool can be lumpy, too hard, too runny, or an unusual color that's like unrelated to what you've recently eaten. So you're having regular bowel movements, comfortable ones, and healthy stool. More healthy gut signs include good gut transit time, aka like the time it takes to go from eating to having a bowel movement, lack of or low amounts of gas and bloating, consistent energy levels, mental clarity, clear skin, efficient sleep, and healthy reactions to both food and emotional and physical stressors. But when your gut is not healthy, you might have one or many of these symptoms: upset stomach, gas, bloating, acid reflux, or heartburn, a change in your usual bowel movements, skin conditions such as eczema, psoriasis, or rosacea, the development of food allergies or sensitivities, autoimmune disorders such as Hashimoto's and MS, a weak immune system like you get colds or flus often, unexplained weight changes, sleep issues, mood disorders like anxiety and depression, unusual food cravings, binge eating, chronic fatigue, and migraines. And here is where my issue with the internet comes in. Like, obviously, those are all symptoms that can be traced back to like a jillion other diagnoses. So, one thing we are not going to do here is make a blanket statement that if you have any of these symptoms, it's caused by your gut. Because if you are experiencing one or more of these symptoms, it could be something like benign and unrelated, or it could be something like way more serious. And I'm not a doctor, but more importantly, I'm not your doctor. And again, like everyone has a different gut microbiome. It's literally like a fingerprint. No two are the same. And so it really kind of bugs me. There are so many like health TikTokers out there convincing us all that our guts are fucked up and then hawking these like one size fits all solutions at us. So if you are experiencing one or more of these symptoms, my recommendation is, as always, to see a doctor and make sure they're familiar with your medical history, your dietary and lifestyle choices, and your symptoms. And then you can like discuss your options. There are many different tests that evaluate your gut health that are either direct to consumer or prescription only. So I do recommend talking to your doctor about picking one that's right for you if you want to do that, because personally, I am not familiar enough with any of them to endorse one. That said, these tests will generally test your stool sample by extracting and synthesizing DNA and bacteria from the sample. However, I think it's really important to note that most of these tests are not FDA approved. And again, more importantly, there's just no hard and fast benchmark for what a healthy gut actually looks like, since everyone's is so vastly different. And that is another reason I really struggle with like all of these kind of online diagnoses. Like, it's literally so hard for even a doctor to diagnose you with any specific gut issues, even if they have literal personalized DNA testing. So I think there are some low stakes ways to take care of your gut at home without buying some random supplement or trusting an internet stranger with zero knowledge of your situation. And this is the part of the episode where I think if you are a note taker, it's a good time to take notes. And we are just going to do a tight little sort of list format. And there are 15 items on this list. And like I said, we're just going to keep it tight. Number 1, include natural sources of probiotics in your diet. This is like your yogurt, your kimchi, sauerkraut, kombucha. Just a cautionary tale, make sure they are not loaded with artificial ingredients or sweeteners, because this brings me to number 2, limit your intake of both processed foods and sugars. As we know, this will help with so many different parts of your health journey, but they introduce a lot of like bad bacteria into your gut, basically. Number 3, chew slowly and take breaks while you're eating. This helps you break down the food so that your digestive system works better and your body can absorb the max amount of nutrients from your food. Number 4, drink lots of water. This just really helps with the digestion process. Number 5, exercise regularly to help balance your hormones that affect the digestion process and to keep the microbes in your gut healthy. Number 6, get enough good quality sleep, which, again, helps regulate your digestion related to hormones. You will start to see, like, as this series goes on, everything is just so inextricably linked to each other. And that's something that I feel like I've learned throughout the making of this entire show is like your brain is affecting your gut, is affecting your hormone production, is affecting your thyroid, is affecting like literally every other system in your body. So you're just going to kind of hear that same thing a lot. Number 7, reduce stress to lower your risk of gastro conditions like IBS. Number 8, eat foods that are high in fiber and or prebiotics. Now, prebiotics basically just grease the wheels so the probiotics can like do their job. And foods that are high in fiber and prebiotics are things like fruits, vegetables, beans, nuts. This is very easily Googleable to determine like which of your favorite foods have fibrous and prebiotic properties. So I recommend doing that. Number 9, eat anti-inflammatory foods, which we know a lot about because I did a lot of talking about this in the cycle syncing episode. But these are foods like salmon and berries and olive oil, stuff like that. Again, very easily Googleable. Number 10, this is my favorite one because I am trying to convert you all to sober curiosity. Cut out alcohol. Alcohol introduces lots of harmful microbes to your gut. And literally toxins because it is, say it with me, poison. Number 11, only take antibiotics as prescribed and don't overdo it. Like don't take antibiotics outside of a prescription from a doctor. The reason for this is antibiotics kill bad bacteria, like the kind that make you sick with bacterial illnesses, but they can also kill good bacteria. One way to counteract the killing of good bacteria while you're on antibiotics is to eat high probiotic foods more when you're on this medicine. And that's, again, like your yogurt, your kimchi, kombucha, stuff like that. Number 12, make sure you're eating a diverse range of foods to promote diversity in the microbiome. I cannot stress this enough. This is why like a hyperfixation food is only good for a limited amount of time, people. Diversity in the types of bacteria you find in your gut is so important and good for your overall health. And it's basically a mirror of your diet. So you want more diversity in the bacteria and fungi and everything that's found in your gut microbiome. And in order to do that, you need to have a diverse diet. Number 13, eat foods rich in polyphenols. This is like green tea, dark chocolate, olive oil, whole grains. These actually stimulate the growth of healthy bacteria in your gut. So good. Now, these last two are a bit more sensitive and controversial, but I like to give you the full picture. So I'm not necessarily saying you should or shouldn't do these two things based on your situation, but this is information that I just think I'd be remiss to exclude. Number 14 is breastfeeding. Children who are breastfed for at least 6 months after birth show healthier and more diverse microbiomes than formula-fed children. And number 15, elimination diets. This is especially controversial because some people claim it can make you either intolerant or allergic to foods that you didn't have a problem with before. It can also, like in some instances, contribute to or exacerbate eating disorders and overly restrictive diets. And particularly if you're cutting out an entire food group, it can also cause nutrient deficiencies. And so, like, especially in like old people, for example, who need to like really be eating all the different food groups to avoid malnutrition, you have to be careful with like cutting out an entire food group. However, that said, for some people, it helps them identify trigger foods. And once they stay away from those foods, they feel way better. So who knows? Take it with a grain of salt. That is all I have for you today, because if we were to like open the can of worms on another kind of like deep dive subject related to gut health, it would be a whole other episode. And so I just kind of want to parse these out into separate episodes so that like in this one, it's very much like anatomy focused. What is it? What does it do? And like, how can we be taking proactive steps to ensure that we have healthy guts? But please drop any follow-up questions in the comments on Spotify or in my DMs or in the comments on the Caps Lock posts or Instagram stories so that I can make a list of questions. And we are going to get a doctor, or probably more like several doctors, to go deep on all the different layers of it and answer all those questions. But in the meantime, I hope you felt like this was a comprehensive introduction to gut health. I hope you learned something, and I really hope you come back for the future deep dives, because there is so much more to discuss, and scientists are learning literally every single day so much more about our gut and all the different things it impacts and how it impacts us. So stay tuned. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart for giving Caps Lock a chance. If you liked this episode, please stick around for more, because we have some really interesting topics coming up, including dating in 2025, the relationship between alcohol and ADHD. I am so excited for this one, and I think a lot of you are really going to love it. Friend breakups, manifestation, and so, so much more. Some will be solo episodes, and some will feature scientists, founders, experts, doctors, and other just very cool, smart people. If there's a topic you want to hear about on Caps Lock, send me a message. And lastly, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Threads at Life in Caps Lock. Hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Leave me a rating or review. These are super important to podcasters. And tune in next Sunday at 8 a.m. for another episode of Caps Lock. Okay, love you. Talk soon.